freaking Forbes 30 under 30s.
Sort of have the business angle in my art and have the creative angle in my business. So I started this company almost right after college, right? I was 23 years old. I think when I was 12 or 13, I had told myself that someday I would have my own book. I went through a breakup actually in my college years. You know, I transitioned writing for myself to writing for someone. I think it's a very different feeling when your creation and your product is a 3D thing, right? That exists in the physical world. I had so many people who just came and they were teary eyes, right? I feel the publishing world is, it's a little laid back, people a little slow, and it's a conversation with me and the monster.
You write a full-fledged novel. Did you think about it? First question. Second, what theme would you want to write about?
What's stopping you from having a writing regimen?
Just
When you're
welcome back to
journaling,
another
you're
Welcome
dumping.
Back to
Yeah.
But your writing cannot be you dumping.
The next show by Nagma.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Next Show by Nagma. And today with me, I have a debut author. Okay, she is a debut author, but she's forever been writing. That's a different part of it. She's also an entrepreneur. She's also in the list of the Forbes 30 under 30. So yeah, there's a lot of things to know about her. Well, one of the most interesting things and what I really adore about her, she's a performer. She literally goes on stage, does pieces along with her brother. There's music, there's poetry, everything coming in together. Very interesting. You should definitely check her out. And I'm so happy to welcome Aditi to the next show. How are you?
I am so well, and thank you so much for that lovely introduction.
I was about to ask, how was the introduction? So tell me, what is this connection? Because when I'm introducing somebody, I also end up thinking, right, what all am I supposed to say? So there were a lot of things that I had to say. There's entrepreneurship, there's freaking Forbes 30 under 30. So that's a different thing. There's a new book, there's your performances. So what is everything? How does everything come together? What is that package of Aditi?
Right. Yeah, I think I also sometimes have a hard time making sense of all of these things that I'm really passionate about, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think the way I look at it is that I am a half entrepreneur and half artist, which basically means that I feel like, you know, both sides of my brain are equally active, you know, my left side and my right side. I really have that logical brain very strong, and you know, I also have my creative side of my being really strong. And I think what I sort of want to do in everything that I do is that, you know, sort of combine both of these elements together, right? So sort of have the business angle in my art and have the creative angle in my business,
Yeah.
right? So there is this tech side where, you know, I've run a company, I've run a tech startup, and now I am a startup advisor to a lot of founders. And there's this all of this creativity bit where, you know, I write, I perform, sometimes sing a little bit as well. So yeah, somehow it sort of comes together.
Let's talk about that work side first. So what are you doing currently?
Yeah, so currently I'm actually working with this firm called Entrepreneur First. They are actually a firm where they help people sort of, you know, go from -1 to 0 in their startup journey. So they get people, they sort of help them come up with startup ideas, and then they form teams, and then, you know, they're supposed to invest in them. So they also have a bunch of advisors that, you know, work with these teams and help them sort of go from -1 to 0, and then of course from 0 to 1 and 1 to 10 and so on and so forth. So yeah, I am one of those people who advises these founders. And apart from that, you know, I also consult other founders from time to time on their fundraise strategy or their marketing and sales and all of that.
Amazing.
So yeah.
So where do you and how do you fit in creativity into this? Because that's what you want to do, right? But how
Yeah.
does that happen?
Yeah, because like I said, I think creativity has always been a part of me. So I started this company almost right after college, right? I was 23 years old. And before that also I used to write, but that was always for, you know, for me. Like that was a hobby. in
True.
itself. And
True.
when I started the company, things became so stressful and so
Yeah.
hectic for me that I never got the time. And you won't believe, because this thing was always there in me, I started writing on LinkedIn. And this was very
Okay.
long back. This was
Okay.
2019, and that time content marketing on all of these social media platforms had not picked up like how it is today, especially
Yeah.
not on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
not
would
at all. I
not
mean,
at
to be
all.
honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would just write about my startup journey, how I
Mm.
feel, what are my lessons, how does
Yeah.
it feel to start at such a young age, how does it
Yeah.
feel to be a woman in the tech industry. And you won't believe it, but I think that was one of the big reasons why I think Locale sort of became what it was, because we built such a strong brand, and we were basically doing this thing called building in public, which was not
Yeah.
even a thing coined back then.
Yeah.
So it's always been inside me, and somehow I cannot help it. I cannot help but also express myself in all of these different ways.
Interesting. So when did you start journaling?
Always. I cannot remember when I never journaled actually.
Interesting.
Maybe when I was 12 or 13.
Huh.
I had these notebooks, and I would come back and I would write Dear Diary and this is what happened today. And
Oh yeah, right. Of course.
Yeah.
The way you journal, is it different back then and today?
100%, yeah. Today, actually, I follow this method called stream of consciousness journaling, which I actually learned from this book called The Artist Way, which
Yeah.
I rave about this book
Yeah.
all the time.
That's an amazing book.
Yeah, it's an amazing, amazing book.
Yeah.
Really helped me actually in my creative endeavors, which basically means that, you just sort of just keep moving your hand on the page, and whatever comes to your mind, you just keep writing. But that time it was more kiddish and childish, I would be like, this is what happened in school, and this is what my friends said. Of course, it's evolved so much from there.
So the journaling practice that you always follow, and in a way, what you write, like even in your book, it's very journal-like.
Yeah,
It's your
yeah.
personal journey that you've
Yes.
actually jotted down in there.
Yes.
So how did that transition happen? Like always wanting to write something for yourself, even though yes, LinkedIn is a public platform, but you were basically just ranting on LinkedIn,
Ranting,
like
yes.
literally.
100%.
So how did that journey to write something for an audience? How did that shift happen?
I think when I was 12 or 13, when I started journaling actually, I think I had told myself that someday I would have my own book,
Yeah.
and that was always at the back of my mind. You won't believe it, but a couple of months back, I actually went back to a lot of my old journals, and I saw there was this page in which I had written dreams for my life. And there was one of these bucket list items that I want to be a novelist, and not just not novelist. I want to be an author, and not just an author. I want to be a best selling author, right? So I think it was always there in my mind. I think that transition happened. It's actually a very funny story, and
Okay.
I think I would like to share it because
Definitely.
I went through a breakup actually in my college years, and before that it was full only journaling that I used to do, right? But I think when I was in the depths of that breakup
Wow.
and in that pain,
The poetry is coming.
poetry started coming out, and I have no idea how. Like I had never, I had never read poetry in my life ever.
Yeah.
I was so distant from that art form, and it just started coming out. And once I started writing poetry, I started also writing short stories. Like I have no idea where it came from, to be very honest.
Interesting.
So what happened was I used to write all of these things, right? And it was only mostly for myself. I had, because I think somewhere at the back of my mind, I used to think I'm not that good, right? But it's just something that I want to do it to just express myself and just communicate what I'm feeling, right?
True.
So when I started writing these things, I started sharing it with my friends, right? And they were all in drafts, right? So I saw that my friends were really resonating. Like there were pieces that made them tear up, and there were pieces that made them laugh and chuckle. And but I never took it so seriously, I think. But there was this friend of mine who really pushed me, saying, bro, this is some crazy stuff. And he told me that, I have this interesting, unique ability to articulate what we all feel, but somehow we are not able to put words into it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he actually pushed me to start publishing some of my stuff.
Ah.
And in the meantime, I also used to watch spoken word poetry
Okay.
on YouTube and all of that. And again, just
Mm.
at the back of mind, someday I was like, I want to do this.
Okay.
And again, I went through a little bit of a hard period in my startup journey, and I had this really strong urge that I want to start performing these pieces out of nowhere.
Okay.
And my first open mic, I was so scared of going on the stage.
Of course,
You know,
yeah.
it's so much jitter, so much
Yeah.
nervousness. But when I finished that piece, like I was really bad also. Like I was looking at the phone and just sort of reading it out, and I was not even performing.
Yeah.
But when I finished that piece, I think 5-6 people came to hug me. You know, I think that really motivated me, saying, okay, maybe there is something here, right? And again, finally, when I stepped down from my startup last year, this was just another writing session. But somehow I just went back to all my drafts and I just scrolled past there and I was like, this is like so much stuff in there, you know.
There is
Kuch
a
kiya ja
lot.
sakta hai, something can be
Yeah.
done with it.
Yeah.
And that's how I took up this project, that maybe it's a good time to convert all of these things into a book.
How many of all those randings did you actually compile? Like when you thought, okay, let me put this together, let me actually go ahead and publish, or thinking about publishing, how many pieces were there in it? And how many did you actually finally end up publishing?
Yeah, I think I don't exactly remember the number of pieces, maybe somewhere around 40 or so. But again, like, you know, right, the number of edits we
Yeah,
went through
yeah.
to finally get the
Yeah.
book together and in shape. And even like until the very last month, I think we were just
Yeah.
trimming the pieces down. And again, that's a part and parcel of the
It's
writing,
part of every book
the
journey.
publishing journey.
Yeah.
But I think more than the number, what really mattered to me was, how do I make these pieces into a spine and a structure that makes sense?
Yeah.
Right? And you know,
Yeah.
again, we've had this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Initially, I was just like, you know, let's just have the pieces over there, like maybe like a scrapbook of
Yeah.
different pieces.
Yeah.
But then over time we discussed and we thought that, you know, maybe it's better to have some form of a storyline to it. And that's when we
True.
came up with all of these different sections in the book. But yeah, I think that was also a journey for me as a writer, because, you know, I transitioned from writing to myself, writing for myself, to writing for someone.
Yeah.
And it's not that I wrote the pieces for them, the pieces are still for me.
Yeah.
Most of my pieces are actually, the way I look at them, they're love letters that I've written from me to me.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I'm parenting myself in those
Yeah.
pieces, you know.
Yeah.
Like, there's this piece I've written about aging. It's just me telling, you know, ho jayega cheezein, you'll figure it
True.
out. There's one piece in which it's just about these random rules in society that we follow, and I'm just questioning why are we following these stupid rules, right?
Yeah.
So it's just things I feel on a day-to-day basis that I write for myself. But I think that transition was so interesting for me as to how do I make a product that sort of, you know, someone else can now experience. And that's why this whole idea of, you know, making this book an experience, adding illustrations to every piece, because I wanted them to feel what I felt while writing them. I think that all of that came about.
That's another thing I definitely want to touch upon about the book, because it's just not a book. It's literally an artistic piece. Every single illustration. And yes, we know today we pick up a lot of poetry books, and even fictions also today have illustrated pages inside. But this is some completely different.
Right.
The pictures are so thought. These are not just doodles that you from Shutterstock downloaded and just compiled. It's definitely not that. So how much energy did it go into it? How did each of these pieces translate into an art as well? And there are different types of art in it. There are photo collages, there are paintings, there are literal pencil illustrations. So how did that entire thing come in together?
I cannot take any credit on this. It's just my brilliant and my most talented friend Nidhin. He actually used to work with us in my company.
Okay.
And when we hired him, you know, I had told myself that this guy is a genius and I am going to collaborate with him someday. And I did not know what at that moment, right?
Yeah.
And when this idea came to me that I wanted this book to be like an amazing experience for the reader. Like I wanted this book to be a companion, and someone told me, when they read that book, that they know me actually, and they were like, this book is a 3D version of Aditi. And so if that book is a 3D version of me, that book better be a good experience, right? And when that idea came, there was no one else I had in mind apart from Nitin. And because we had worked together, I knew how to, I did not even tell him what to draw or what to illustrate for different pieces. I just told him, he sat with me, he asked me for each and every piece, why have you written this? What is the point you're trying to make in this, right? And that's all I told him, and he came up with everything else, right? So there is just no way I can take credit on this. It's just all him, and it's his brilliance and his talent.
Because we've, like, in the initial stages, well, he was also doing the colored pieces.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They were so
It was
beautiful.
just brilliant. And I'm so sad that we couldn't really print those works because it'll end up becoming too expensive. Maybe later, but
Maybe
let's
later.
see. But that's like really brilliant. You finally got a chance to see your book in print. In your hand. How did that feel?
The first thing I did when I saw it is that I just picked up the book, I went to a corner, I just kissed every part of the cover page, I'm like, because last year when we were going through this process, I used to imagine myself just holding it in my hands, because I think it's a very different feeling when your creation and your product is a 3D thing, right? That exists in the physical world. Because until now, everything that I have built, whether it was my company or my product or my writings, they were all digital, right? So of course there's feeling attached to it, but I think it's a completely surreal feeling when you just hold
it doesn't
something.
stay. The shelf life is also becomes a little shorter.
So now, in the first week when I came back to Bangalore, I was actually almost hugging my book and sleeping in the night, So it just means a lot to me, and just to see it come to life, the vision that I had in my head, from that to just holding this, I think that's a crazy feeling.
And what age did you write it in your book that I mean in your diary that you wanted to actually have a book?
Maybe 12, 13. I don't exactly remember the age, but somewhere along, I think that time,
So once your book was out, you were also part of the World Book Fair. And that's like the biggest festival happening in India. You got the chance to meet a lot of your readers. I mean, technically not a lot of your readers. These are random people who came and explored your book. How was that experience? And what were few of those conversations that you had with some of your readers?
I think again it was such a new experience for me, but again I think here a lot of my startup experience helped me out because even when we're building a product, right, in a startup, like the way it's done is that it's an iterative process, right? So there's this concept called MVP, which is called minimum viable product, that you launch to a very limited users and you see how they're using your product, and then you get their feedback and you iterate and you then maybe launch it to a bigger group, and that's how your product product development cycle works, right? And I think I sort of applied those same principles here, because I would just give the book to the reader and I would not say anything a lot of times, and I would see how are they reacting to it, right? So I'll give you some very interesting insights, and we actually have never spoken about this. So when people opened the book, right, they were flipping the pages, and because when we scroll digitally, right, scrolling is not that big of a tedious task, right? So to get to the page where the story starts, it's not a lot of effort. But I saw that, they are flipping the pages and the story is not sort of coming there, right? And I saw there was a tiny sliver of frustration over there, for example. Another feedback was that, of course, people don't know that there's so many illustrations in the book, and they got intimidated by the width of the book, right? So I think all of these small things, the feedback that we got, that's why we went back to the drawing board. We were like, how do we incorporate all of these, and then sort of launch a V2 of the book. I think it was, again, a very, very different and a unique experience for me over there.
What were some of those because there were a lot of emotional scenarios also with your book and some of the readers. Do you mind sharing some of them?
I think even in the Paper Downs team actually,
Yeah.
they read the book, and from the first day, when I went to the stall, the editors over there, they felt like they knew me as a person,
Oh.
so it was like I met them and we just hit it off as
Yeah.
friends, and it was so easy for them. I think only because they they really they read the book, and of course they understood the person I am, and my worldview and where I come from,
True.
right? So I think it started from there, and so many people, when they were flipping the pages, they read bits and pieces of it, and I had so many people who just came and they were teary eyes, right? Uh, and like I said, because I wanted this to be an experience, I also tried to write personalized notes for everyone,
Yeah.
and something that I would have liked to have in my book, when I pick it up on a hard day, that I read and I just feel a little comforted,
Yeah.
So I just put myself in everyone's shoes and I wrote those personalized notes, and I think those notes made people really cry, and I got so
True.
many hugs, and
True.
yeah, it was very overwhelming, extremely overwhelming, and yeah, I think all of these are very small things, but it's also like a dream come true in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Mm. Was there anything that you specifically want to ask any of the readers about the book?
Actually, so many people have sent me notes and passages, after they read the book,
Oh,
of
yeah.
of how they felt.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is, because there's so many poetry pieces, short stories, musings, right? Like different forms of
Yeah.
pieces. Uh, Everyone came up to me and they said that their favorite pieces were so diverse and so different from each other.
Yeah, I can
Right?
understand. Yeah.
Because some pieces are very light-hearted and
Yeah.
funny, some are intense, and it really depends on what phase of the life you're in
Yeah.
and in what headspace you're reading the
Yeah.
book. And that is always such a fun thing for me. Even in my shows, actually, the piece that people resonate with are so different. So just to know, okay, what part of the book resonated the most for you, I think that's always been like, I really love knowing that. But I think I've gotten notes from people, screenshots, highlights. Like, I am really like, I have this one friend who took 2-3 lines from my book, and she's basically written it on a sticky note and posted on her mirror.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's so
So yeah,
cool.
it's all of these small tiny things.
Yeah.
Again, they mean the world.
Yeah. I mean, diversity wise, it's diverse. Like literally poetries in it about mosquitoes. And then there are
Yeah.
poetries about heartbreak. So that's like completely
Yeah.
different thing. So now that you have your physical form, your book is actually there. When you go for your performances, are you reading out from the book mostly?
Yeah, I don't read out pieces in my when I'm performing. I
Yeah.
memorize them actually.
Yeah.
So most of these pieces that I perform are actually pieces that are from the
Part
book
of the book
itself. So
itself.
when I'm performing, now it's all adding up in a way, because
Yeah.
the performances feed into the book, and the
Yeah.
book feeds into the performances, right? Like, so many people who I got connected with through the book, they actually came to attend my shows in Bangalore. So yeah,
That's
I mean, and this is
nice.
again the dream I have, that all of these
Yeah.
things compound and
Yeah.
they become a flywheel, right? So one thing is sort of contributing to the other.
So all of this creativity, then this is like in the last 1 year,
Yeah.
creativity max pro, like,
yeah,
literally.
for sure.
So
Yeah.
is this like coming back into your work as well?
Yeah, 100%. It's just the manifestation of that is very different. Because like I said, right, I think both of these fields, in my opinion, they require a little bit of a different mindset, and I'll tell you what I mean. I think when you're creating art, that's more about expression.
Yeah.
Right? But in the business field and business realm of things, it's about profits.
Yeah.
Right? Which means you need to build a product that people want.
Yeah.
But here you need to create something that you want to create.
Yeah.
Right? So there is that dichotomy for sure.
Yeah.
But also, when you're building something here in the creativity side, when you're expressing yourself, how do you also build a product that you think people may like, may like to
True.
read, and it's not just about you.
True.
Right? Versus in the business field, when you're creating something that people like,
Yeah.
how do you make it interesting? How do you make it how do you market it in a way that sort of touches people, right? So which is why everything is such a mishmash in my head that at this point it's very hard to sort of demarcate them.
So you've been with startups. It's not just your own startup, but you've been with other startups also, and you kind of understand the full life cycle journey of any company, any product, and everything. How different is a book's life cycle now that you're experiencing it?
Oh, that's such a good question. Yeah, I think this was so new to me actually. No one I know has actually published a book.
Yeah.
So you know this, right? When I was trying to figure out how do I get this to life, I did so much research. I spoke to so many people, and a lot of kind authors I spoke to actually pointed me to you guys, and that's how we started working together. It's also been such a learning experience for me. But I think both the industries are so different, Nagma. The tech world it moves really fast, right?
Yeah.
I feel the publishing world is it's a little laid back, people a little slow.
Yeah.
And again, the unit economics and the finances work so differently in both of these fields. So you can see that being reflected in this field, right? In the way people talk. I think in the tech world, people talk about maximization of wealth. So they talk about risk. They're like, we'll go big or we'll go home. So we'll take that big of risks because if, let's say, I'm like making 10 risks, I don't care if 9 fail, but one really works out 10x for me, right? But here it's very different, right? Because here people have a different mindset, they have different beliefs, and people are slightly more risk averse, they are a little slow. And of course, I understand where, how these two different fields work, but I feel like, both of these fields can learn from each other a little bit, right? Like tech can learn, like, you don't always have to move so fast and break things,
True.
We have this thing that, and Facebook popularized this code that move fast and break things, like, if, let's say, you figured out a bug in your product, ship it in the entire weekend and push it out on Monday and see, how users behave. But also that leads to so much pressure, burnout and all of that, which I went through and I talk about in the book and in the content that I create. But I feel, that's why the publishing world is, because it's a little bit more relaxed, I think people are able to bring out the best in their product that they create. Right?
Makes sense. So this is one thing I always had, that like even when you were telling right now also, exactly like how you said, the dichotomy of how people live, the tech world being so fast. And I'm not talking about the industry, or because the industry is also stressful. You have marketing job, you have sales job. It is stressful. But as a writer, now this is a process where you're technically slowing down. And this is North Pole and South Pole. It's two different things altogether. How are you managing that? Because, I mean, so sorry I stopped you. But even for a fiction writer, there are phases where, okay, your imagination, you building your story could be a slow process, but once you start writing, it's tuck, they're able to write. So that's in general what people say. But here the journey is completely different. Each page takes time, 100%. Emotions, investment of yourself into it. That's so different. 100%. So how do you actually manage it?
Yeah. And art, in my opinion, is so much about vulnerability, right? Like, even if you're creating fiction, right? I think, at least this is what I believe, somewhere in the plot or in the characters or in the way you've narrated the story, something about you comes out, right? Whether it's you as a person, your life experiences. But the business world is not like that, like...
Not at all.
Not at all, right? Everyone is so... I mean, you're expected to present the most... presentable, palatable version of yourself.
And there's zero scope for vulnerability.
Right? And honestly, which is why it's been so hard for me, right? And that's why I think all my life I've never fit completely in each of these different buckets, right? And now in the last 1.5 years, I have actually accepted that, I belong to both the worlds, but really not completely to any one of them. And maybe that is my strength and that is what
Yeah.
I bring uniquely to the table.
Yeah.
But it took me such a long time to get here because trust me, I always used to feel out of place. Like artists talk about, like you said, right, like moving so slow,
Yeah.
and yeah, of course art requires that, but inherently that's not how I have lived my life.
Yeah.
Right, because I come from, like, I went to BITS Pilani, right, and I prepared for JEE, so I've always, you know, it's always been go.
Yeah.
It's always been about
Yeah.
next milestone, next
Yeah.
thing, and this again gets accentuated in the startup world.
True.
Right, like you won't believe when you're raising your first round, the first question that gets asked is, what is the next round that we need to
Yeah.
raise and how do we move backwards
Yeah.
from there?
Mm.
So I think through all of these expressions of creativity, I think I have really gotten to understand who I am, you know, and not just understand but accept and now take pride in it as well, in a way.
Interesting. Was there any point in those where you felt lost?
Yeah, 100%. But now being lost does not intimidate me. You know?
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And I think feeling lost in life is a very human feeling. All of us go through that,
Yeah.
right? It's a very human emotion.
Yeah.
And especially because, you know, I was a CEO for 6 years, right? This company was my baby, it was my child, it was my identity.
Yeah.
Like I used to wake up, breathe this company, and then go back to sleep. And when I stepped back from it, I did not know who I was, essentially.
Yeah.
And I also went through another very intense breakup, actually, at that moment. And for the first time in my life, I did not have my work or a person who could give me my identity in a way,
Oh.
you know, because
Yeah.
all my life I either had one of them,
Yeah.
right? Whether it was work
Yeah.
in some shape or form,
Yeah.
work or acads or studies, or there was like a guy I was
Yeah.
seeing, and it really pushed me to this sort of this pit of asking myself, you know, who am I without both of these things? And it was so intense, it was so
Yeah.
difficult, but now that, you know, I'm on the other side of it, I feel like I said, right, like it has really strengthened my understanding of who I am as a person, right? And which is why now being lost does not intimidate me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, like I just look at it as a part of the journey.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're lost, it's actually something inside you is pushing you to ask bigger and deeper questions.
True.
Because something inside you doesn't want you to settle.
Yeah.
Because if everything was okay with the status quo and the way things are, why would you feel lost? You would feel content.
And you wouldn't want to move forward.
You wouldn't
also.
want to move forward,
You're
right?
comfortable there.
So there is this period, you know, where you have outgrown your last identity, but you don't know what is next.
Yeah.
So that is the feeling of being lost, and you just need to, if there's this bridge, you just need to cross it and go to the other side of it.
Wow. So is this where the title of the book actually came from?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that's amazing.
All the things, all these pieces I wrote at 2 a.m. when I was falling apart between investor conversations, or, you know, while I was processing my breakup, or this really hard phase when I was thinking whether I should quit my startup and all of these things. So yeah, and I tried to make it as honest and vulnerable as I could.
Interesting. What was the most difficult part while writing?
Difficult part while writing, wow.
Was there any?
Maybe not, Nagma, because these are, like I told you, these are things I have written for myself, right? So when I wrote them, I never thought I'm writing for an audience.
Yeah.
But when I decided to compile all of these pieces into a book, that's when I saw it from the eyes of a reader.
Yeah.
But by that time, the pieces were already written. And of course, we went through
Okay,
several rounds of edits. But yeah, it never sort of dawned on me that, you know, oh shit, someone's going to read all of this in a way.
Yeah, I was about to ask that only. Were there any pieces that you actually kept aside because you didn't want anybody to read it?
There are 1 or 2 pieces which are very intense.
Just 1 or 2?
That are very intense.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's I've written this piece about my battle with anxiety and depression in different phases of my life. And essentially, I imagined depression to be this monster in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation with me and the monster,
Ah.
right? So I think that is very intense. For someone who has not gone through that, I think for someone who's gone through that, they would totally relate.
Yeah.
And I did really ask all the editors whether I should keep it or not, and they said you should definitely keep it, even if, you know, maybe a lot of people might not resonate, but the ones that would do, they would really
They would
resonate.
really make a
Yeah,
difference
yeah,
to them.
yeah.
Ah, so you haven't kept it finally?
No, we did.
You did,
We
right?
included
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Ah, interesting. So once now that the book is out, are you writing further? Are you planning to publish further?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, because like I told you, right, writing is my it's my way of dealing with my big complex emotions that I
Yeah.
feel on a day-to-day basis. Reading is my escape,
Mm.
and you would understand this
Yeah.
more than anyone. Reading is when you just block out everything in the world and just get lost in a different world that the author has created. But writing is when I cannot escape, which means I need to process and
Yeah.
maybe create something beautiful out of that experience.
Yeah.
Right? So I always write. Now whether you know, something like this gets formed into the next book, I guess that's something I need to take another journey of my
Do
own
you-
and figure it out.
Anytime want to write a fiction? Like a full-fledged novel, I mean.
Yeah, maybe someday actually. I think it will be like an interesting project for me, and it will stretch me as an author, because most of these things I've written, there are a few fiction pieces,
Yeah.
but they are short stories actually. I have never written something that is so long, right? And the entire book is about
Yeah.
one like prolonged story. But I think it needs a lot of work and growth from me as an author to get there, because that's not my primary writing style.
True. That is interesting. So, in case you write a full-fledged novel, did you think about it? First question. Second, what theme would you want to write about?
I think I've gotten this idea that I want to. So I have a lot of crazy stories from my life.
I can imagine.
Like all sorts of stories, you know.
Yeah.
And I think one of the ideas that I have is that I want to write a fiction based on all of those experiences,
Okay.
which means I will, of course, edit the situation and the scenario, but again, how do I form a coherent narrative where all of these stories are there?
Means we are gonna get one crazy character.
Yeah, exactly, one crazy character. I also want to write a children's book someday. That's also on my list.
Okay.
Again, I have no experience with kids and children, and I don't know why I even have this desire. But again, I think it's a project that if I take up, it will stretch me in a different way. It's completely out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see where when I
That's
would take up all of
interesting.
these.
That's interesting. So now, in this entire journey, when you've experienced your work, your performance, your writing, everything put in together. If today somebody just asks you to introduce yourself, how do you actually introduce you?
I actually don't introduce myself from the perspective of my work anymore, because work is just a part of me and my identity now. Can I read you something I've written?
Of
actually on
course,
this?
definitely.
So this is a piece I wrote. I won't read the full thing actually, but I had written this. Basically, I thought the idea of romance in a way is that when we want people to write us love letters and things like that, right? But the thing that came to my mind was, what if we write love letters to ourselves?
Yeah.
How would that sound like, right? And the whole idea was, if I were to slide in my own DMs on Instagram, what would I say,
Okay.
right? So maybe like a very small passage from that. So you asked me, who am I, essentially? Aditi, you're a lover of life, a courageous journeyer, a searcher of mystery and mysticism, a risk taker for everything you believe in, a talented artist, a giver, a sweetheart who always shows up, who cares deeply, who loves hard, an eventual forgiver, even when forgiveness takes time. You're an exquisite one of creation, and I'm so captivated by your vulnerability, your honesty, your willingness to feel deeply in a world that prefers numbness. So, if I were to slide in your DMs for real, I would say this: Hey, beautiful, you're magic. Keep going, keep loving, keep being you. And I'm proud of you, and I'm not going anywhere. It's a longer piece. It's just a short note from that I read to you.
So beautiful. That's
thank
completely changed the mood. Oh, that's really nice. I think it's something that all of us should all at some point actually do. Writing
Yeah.
letters to yourself.
Yeah.
It makes a difference
Yeah.
at some point.
Yes.
So you also do workshops
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah,
With
sometimes.
writing and
Yeah.
creativity and your journaling and everything. What do you communicate to people? What do you ask them to do?
Yeah, I think, and this is what Artist Way taught me actually, that because I grew up, even though I used to write, this was a belief I had that I am not creative as a
Okay.
person. I am not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And Artist Way really pushed me to, question that belief, right? And what the point that it makes is that, all of us are born with creativity, and that's the fundamental nature of who we are as humans.
Yeah.
The job, if we don't believe that, our job is to sort of go deep within ourselves and really rewire all of these false narratives that we have sort of built up, right? And so, when I went through that process for myself, and I believed, or I had that confidence that maybe what I have to say in my art matters, and I want to do this. I just maybe sometimes want to help people who are also stuck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did a bunch of workshops, and I also asked them these questions, right? Like,
Yeah.
why do you not, what's stopping you from having a writing regimen, right? Like, it can be once a week, it can be 3 days in a week, right? It doesn't have to be every day.
Yeah.
But what's stopping you? And then all of these things came up, right? That I don't believe I'm good enough. I don't think I am creative. I have anything to say. And yeah, we sort of work. So it's more of a spiritual and an inner work thing, because I think, once you work on that, the technicalities and skills, you can work on it, right? That's a playbook
Can
you
always
can follow.
be improved.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, like, people were so touched, and I made sure I made everyone promise that. So we started writing a piece in the session also, and I made everyone promise that they will finish it and they'll send it to me, and they will tell me how it felt to create something just that is theirs from scratch. And I was like, you can look at this and you can proudly say, ये मैंने बनाया है, ये मैंने लिखा है, right? And yeah, it was really, really, again, very, very surreal.
What if we are scared of somebody else reading? I mean, I'm not even kidding. I mean, there are parts where I used to journal before, but somewhere in between I had stopped because of the fear. What if somebody else reads my journal?
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of writing something on a public platform or creating something for somebody to read, because then you know what you're doing. But what if somebody else come and actually read your journal? So that's always been there. So as somebody who's always been writing journals, now you've decided you wanted to publish a lot of your pieces. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
But these kind of thoughts doesn't ever come.
Yeah, so I think my raw writing in the journal is very different from the pieces in the book.
Okay.
Right? Because see, when you're journaling, you're dumping.
Yeah.
But your writing cannot be you dumping,
Yeah.
right? Because when you're dumping, you're venting, you're complaining, you're like, and I think that's a very healthy thing to do, because I think that's the healthiest thing you can do to regulate your own emotions, which is to just dump whatever you feel and then come back and center yourself and figure out, okay, how do I deal with this situation? But like, I'll give you an example. For one of the things that always, I know a couple, they are married actually, and they are, I mean, their chemistry is not that visible, like it's dead in a way. They've been married for 10 years, right? And I used to look at them and I used to wonder, how do they deal with that, right? And what if tomorrow one of them gets attracted to someone else? So this was a question I had, and I wrote about this question in my journal. But the way I translated this feeling or this point was in the form of a story. about this woman
Yeah.
who is stuck in a lifeless marriage.
Yeah.
Her husband does not, he's so absent,
Yeah.
and she meets this guy at work,
Yeah.
and who's all charming, and who's giving her so much attention.
Yeah.
And how does she feel in all of this, like, and how she
Mm.
navigating this very
Yeah.
complex situation.
Yeah.
So I made that into a fiction story, for example.
Ah.
So you get it right. The
Yeah.
piece gets manifested in different ways.
Mm.
The more important thing is, what do I want to say through this piece, and what is the best way to say it?
Okay.
Should it be poetry? Should it be prose?
Yeah.
Should it be a story? Should it be
Yeah.
a dialogue between two friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is the kind of introspection I do when I write.
Interesting. So that's a lot of things. I think this conversation will keep going on if we don't
Yeah.
stop. But genuinely, what next? What can we expect from you next? I know this journey of book is just starting.
Yeah.
It is there, but you come from a culture where, okay, one
Yeah.
milestone is done,
Yeah,
you're already
100%.
planning for the next and coming back. So, what do
100%.
you think? Or what are you going to give us next?
Yeah, I have a lot of bucket list items for myself again that I created this year.
Yeah.
In terms of my shows, in terms of again writing another book. I think in a way I've already started working on it, because the writing is it's already going on.
Yeah.
Now again there'll be a point or a trigger point for me where
Yeah.
I'll be like, let's again publish a book in this. I've recently, this, like, I was not even on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't like that platform, and I used to always stay away from
Yeah.
it. But again, I've taken it up now. I understand that it's important for me if I want to
Yeah.
get into this creative field, right? So again, I would say I'm learning how to create content.
Yeah.
And again, I think even in that journey, I'm in that place where I'm like, who do I want to be on Instagram? Right? What is the message I want to say? And again, that's a process of exploration.
Yeah.
I'm figuring out. I don't have the
Yeah.
answers. So I think in all of these different projects, I have milestones and goals for myself. Ultimately, I want to go back to building another company,
Yeah.
because I feel there is one more product inside of me that needs to come out.
Yeah.
But Nagma, I don't know the chronology of all of these things and how they will sort of unfold.
True.
So I think I'm just being open, taking it. And again, this is a very new way of living for me, trust me. Like, I have been such a crazy planner. Every year, so many things I had already
Yeah.
planned. So
Yeah.
even though I have goals and dreams, now I'm not attached to when they will happen, how they
Yeah.
will happen. I
Yeah.
only try to work towards them.
Yeah. Oh, that's right way of putting it.
Like, because that's a recipe for disaster. Like,
Yeah, I
if
agree.
if you say that, this year I want to have a sold out show, for example, in this venue.
Yeah.
What if it does not happen?
Yeah.
Right? It will crush you. And these
Yeah.
things used to crush me.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, the things that are in my control are, I need to just get better as a performer. I need to keep figuring out how do I improve my sets,
Yeah.
and keep practicing, keep improving, keep socializing and networking with the right people in the
Yeah.
industry, and someday it would happen. So I think I've become more of a flow person.
It's a
now.
complete
transition. Yeah.
transition, like literally, like even from the time that we started talking also,
Yeah.
what we used to hear from you, because when you try to know somebody,
Yeah.
always the question is, what were you before?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
is it that you
yeah.
used to do? And all those conversations and how the conversations changed later.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, this podcast also, to be very frank, it's a huge transition and it's an amazing transition, and I'm very proud of you for
Thank you
that.
so
So
much.
that's amazingly
Yeah,
done.
this is, I guess, one of the things I learned while falling apart.
Yeah, of course, it's definitely
Yeah.
is. I think a few people who got the chance to pick up the book during the World Book Fair, I mean, the reviews have been crazy. I mean, I personally don't own a book of yours yet. I'm waiting for the version 2 to come out to actually have it. Even though, yeah, we've read through the entire content way
Yeah.
before the publishing itself. So waiting for all of that. Wishing you all the very best. I know there are some 100 different milestones that you're setting for
Yeah,
yourself
yeah.
and 1,000 different things
Yeah.
that you want to do. But whatever it is, I think if this is a way that you're approaching it, it's just gonna just gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good.
No, 100%. And even though now I want to do all of those things that I've planned for myself, I
Yeah.
also want to be so present in what's happening now,
Yeah.
right? Which is like sometimes I still, tell myself that my book is coming out, like I'm just been so frustrated that it's taken so long.
Yeah, the
But
Amazon is just not getting live.
just not getting live, and like people they are just behind me like crazy, but
Mm.
again, it's not something we can control at the end of the
Yeah.
day, right? But yeah, like I have to keep telling myself that, hey, just be here, live in this moment, enjoy this.
Mm.
Milestones aate rahenge, jaate rahenge.
Yeah.
Like once you reach point A, you will always want to reach point B, and so
Yeah.
on and so forth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just trying to have that attitude now.
We'll just make sure that this podcast episode gets released the week that your Amazon is finally
Yeah,
live. So yeah,
hopefully
anybody
so.
who's watching this, yes, the book is now available on Amazon. We're talking in future tense, but whatever. But then amazing. Thanks a lot for the conversation,
Thank you.
Atiti. Thank you
Thanks a
for
lot.
as much as in your book we've been unfiltered. Thank you for being so unfiltered in the conversation as well, because that's not easy. You wouldn't know who's watching. You actually have no idea who's going to react to things, how, and if you're still able to be genuine, be unfiltered, and that's really talks a lot of things about it. So thank you so much for that, and wishing you all the very best in this new journey as an author, which you are trying to navigate. Now that the writing part is done, there's a new journey of the marketing
100%.
bit
100%,
pending.
yeah.
So good luck with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we will be together throughout for this.
100%. Thank you so much for having me and giving me the space to be my authentic self. And yeah, look forward to working together and just getting this book out into the world, into the hands of the right people.
Amazing. Guys, do check out Things I Learned When Falling Apart, because I'm for sure each and every one of us at some point or the other have definitely, even though we admit it or not, we've definitely fallen apart. So do check out Aditi's book and see you back with another conversation. Have a good day.
The next show by Nagma.